What's up, desktoppers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and in this video I'm discussing Big Ramy's latest physique updates, weighing at over 335 pounds. We've got a new video, the latest photo, plus I compare Big Ramy's current physique update at 18 weeks out of a 2022 Mr Olympia to his 2021 Mr Olympia win. All that plus much more coming up in this video, guys. I hope you enjoy it. What's up, desktoppers? Now let's get straight into this one. So Big Ramy looking absolutely ridiculous at 336 pounds, 18 weeks out of the 2022 Mr Olympia, being prepped by Chad Nichols, who obviously prepped Ronnie Coleman for all those Mr Olympia wins, plus many other great competitors that he's prepped as well, including Melvin Anthony and a whole other slew of names. And also he's going to be trained, I assume, once again by Dennis James for those last however many weeks prior to the 2022 Mr Olympia. Now Big Ramy obviously was caught up in controversy, not showing up at the Pittsburgh Pro Guest posing. No one really knows exactly why, apart from, I assume, a few people close to him, because he had no access to a phone, as he said, and just basically couldn't contact the people that he needed to basically let him know he was not coming to that Pittsburgh Pro Guest posing. Still don't know what happened exactly, but I've heard all the rumors and all that sort of stuff, which, you know, for now I don't care to actually report on, because who knows, I've heard several different conflicting rumors as well. So anyway, this latest physique update Big Ramy has posted up. He looks absolutely ridiculous, and if his weight is accurate and if this is a recent physique update, he's looking in a great position to retain that Mr Olympia title in 2022 and make it 3 from 3 in the past 3 years. And obviously he's got plenty of names biting his heels, and pretty much before this physique update, many people were saying this is wide open, but after this one, you know, had obviously the Pittsburgh Pro Guest posing not have happened, and had we not known that Big Ramy has talked about retirement, there was talk of him wanting to quit last year as he's prepping for 2021 Mr Olympia, and you know, he was on the verge of retiring last year. Had those rumors, and had he actually shown up at Pittsburgh, everyone would be saying Big Ramy is the hot favorite for 2022 Mr Olympia. And many people question if him not showing up at these certain appearances will actually affect him in terms of placing at the 2022 Mr Olympia. And some of that reason is because obviously the show he didn't show up to for that obviously famous guest posing is the Pittsburgh Pro, and that's Jim Mannion's show. He's the president of the IFBB Pro League and the NPC, so he's definitely not the person you'd want to, you know, cancel last minute, or not even cancel at all, just not show up at his show. So who knows if that will play any impact. I mean, he's definitely not going to get the Mr Olympia edge, because normally you have to knock out the champ. This year, I don't think that will be the case. If there's two guys really close, if Brandon Curry and Big Ramy are, you know, neck and neck, like it sort of was last year at the pre-judging at the Mr Olympia, I think maybe Brandon Curry would get the nod this time as opposed to Big Ramy. So with this recent physique update, I was super impressed with the level of conditioning Big Ramy has right now, and just the level of size. I did a video maybe a couple of months ago saying, is Big Ramy small, or something like that, to that effect. And, you know, reports came back that he was over 300 pounds and all that sort of stuff at that stage, or 311 pounds, or whatever the actual weight was that he came out and spoke about. But whatever it was, it might have been even 320. But what it is right now is 336 point whatever, as he posted up with that physique update. And obviously he's added a considerable amount of size since then. So it was a smaller Ramy back then. So I wasn't wrong in terms of, you know, the smaller part, but he's definitely full blown right here, looking his all-time biggest. And hopefully the video that I did, and maybe a few other people mentioned it, him being smaller, gave him a little bit of extra motivation, because, you know, being a dominant Mr Olympia, and, you know, and while last year he won it, but wasn't super dominant against Brandon Curry, I actually thought Brandon Curry won the pre-judging at last year's Mr Olympia. He only trained, what was it, 4 months for that Mr Olympia? So it goes to show that, you know, he is a dominant Mr Olympia if he wants to be, basically, because he won it training, you know, a lot less than all these other guys did for that 2021 Mr Olympia. If he puts in a full year of hard work, and obviously what he's looking like right now at 18 weeks out, if he can continue to push like he is right now throughout the last 18 weeks, it's hard to see Big Ramy actually being beaten. But obviously, like I said, there has been obviously rumors around Big Ramy wanting to retire, wanting to quit, and all that sort of stuff. So will his level of motivation maintain through that entire 18-week prep, and will he make it to the stage? Because who knows what those actual issues were last year, where he couldn't fly and he had no access to his phone. It definitely does sound sort of suspicious, and yeah, it never really came out, you know, at least to the public, what actually went down. But anyway, I want to compare Big Ramy's 2021 Mr Olympia winning physique to these physique updates. Now, obviously, the slight angle of a photo makes his upper body look slightly bigger in the new physique update. So I've sort of tried to scale it to look pretty accurate in terms of, scaling the head size and all that sort of stuff. So let's go through it, and we'll start with the front double bicep. And when you look at this pose here, he definitely looks like he's got more of an X frame in the newest physique update. You can see, obviously you can't see the legs in the new physique update, but you look at the arms, they just look more filled out overall. Now, obviously he has a pump, but backstage, these guys are pumping up anyway, so it shouldn't matter too much. But yeah, the arms overall look more filled out. The lats look bigger from the front as well, and just the overall waist to, arm to shoulder ratio looks more impressive in the new physique update. Obviously, he's full blown. Obviously, he's not as lean. He's not pulling a vacuum, obviously, in the new physique update as well, which can affect the pose, but generally, it makes the pose crunch in a little bit more if you're not pulling a vacuum, but I'd say he's fully loaded in terms of food, in terms of training, all that sort of stuff. So it's probably hard for him to pull a vacuum in the latest physique update. But I'd say overall, the new one's looking much more impressive. Now let's move on to the side chest. And part of what makes the side chest look so impressive for Big Ramy is that side leg. So we're not seeing any of that. So let's just focus on the upper body. There appears to be more fullness in that upper body, but I've got to tell you that this one looks much closer compared to that front double bicep. But it's sort of hard to tell. Like I said, the scaling's rough, but I'd say overall he looks more filled out. And it sort of goes to show that 3 months training for Big Ramy into a Mr Olympia, where you actually got to cut fat at the same time, probably isn't enough to bring his very best, but it was good enough to be the best in the world still last year. Now let's move on to the rear lat spread. And the thing I noticed most on this pose is the traps. So when you're looking at the left one, you can see the traps are sticking up a little bit. It's not just straight across. You can see the clear definition between the trap, the shoulder, and you're getting a bit of, I suppose, just more of a 3D filled out effect. And when you look on the right, it's just a little bit less of that, in my opinion. It's just more straight across, and you're not getting so much of that difference. So I think his traps were a little bit down last year. I think this year they're looking fuller for sure. Now, obviously, like I said, he's full blown off season right now at the very start of a prep. So I think that it's going to probably pop a little bit more. But I think training right through into the comp, I think you can get, once he gets leaner as well, they're probably going to pop even more. So I think Big Ramy is in a great position going by that. Now let's look at this hands together most muscular, and this is where I can tell the most difference. So when you look at this pose, he just looks much wider. Those delts look absolutely enormous in the latest physique update, and it makes his overall, I suppose, flow and shape look a lot better. Like the shoulder to waist is much more impressive in the latest physique update, even though he isn't comp ready as well. So often you see it look more impressive in the actual comp photo, but I don't know if he's just posing it slightly wrong on stage last year, maybe just trying to get the cuts through the chest a little bit too much and sacrificing some of that width across the shoulders, but everything just looks bigger as well. And even his abs are popping in the latest physique update at 18 weeks out. So like I said, a great position to take that third Mr Olympia title. Now we go to the hands on hips most muscular. Now this one is going to be favored definitely in the latest physique update, just because obviously the angle of the photo. So the one from Mr Olympia last year was from pretty level, pretty much straight on in terms of not favoring the legs or the upper body, which is how a bodybuilding contest should be filmed. But then you look at the latest one, and obviously being a much up closer photo, it probably gives a bit of an advantage to the upper body there. So if his legs were showing, they might not look quite as impressive as they do on stage at the Olympia last year. But as you can tell, just look at the waist to shoulder ratio. It looks so much better in the latest physique update. I would even question if he's been doing some sort of like ab tightening exercises or wearing a waist trainer or something, because his waist just seems smaller, his shoulders just seem bigger, his arms seem bigger. Everything overall seems bigger except his waist. The only one where his waist looks bigger is the only one where his waist looks bigger is actually the front double bicep where he's pulling a vacuum, and that's probably the only reason why his waist actually looks bigger in the latest physique update. So overall, very, very impressed with Big Ramy's latest physique updates. Will it actually end up resulting in a Mr Olympia win in 2022? It still remains to be seen. I have doubts, but the only doubts really are the mind of Big Ramy. Does he have the mental fortitude to actually push through whatever he's going through in his personal life, get on stage and win that third Mr Olympia title? Now, if this is the last push for Big Ramy and he's going to actually retire after this contest, then he'll be all in. We could see a 2003 Ronnie Coleman-esque physique. Now, not maybe the same cuts and all that sort of stuff, but he may just be so overwhelmingly freaky in size. If he trained 3 months for last year's Olympia and he's training all year for this one, we might see something absolutely insane in 2022 from Big Ramy. But I can also see a scenario where Nick Walker, Brandon Curry, Hardy Chupin, Hunter Labrada, all these names, there's so many coming up at this year's Mr. Olympia, could actually beat out Big Ramy and take that 2022 Mr. Olympia title. But let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about Big Ramy's latest physique updates, and will he win the 2022 Mr. Olympia? So anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. So for Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out.